celebrating the power of possibility.
I'm Mayor Indya Kincannon, and I believe anything is possible.
This is Anything is Possible. I'm Halloran Hilton Hill. My guest today is Mayor Indya Kincannon. Mayor, welcome to the broadcast.
Thank you for having me.
I've been looking forward to this.
Me too.
I first happened upon you when you were on the school board. And I'm covering all this stuff in town. And here's what stood out to me. And we've never had this conversation, so here we go.
Okay.
You didn't seem political. You just seemed like you really, really cared about education. And I would watch these meetings, and the first thing I noticed was you knew all the facts. Like you were reading all of whatever there was in the packet. You were reading all of it. You were asking these probing and penetrating questions, but it didn't seem to be from a political position as, how do I stage this so I can get votes, so I can get whatever? And I thought, how did you end up here?
Well, I mean, my original inspiration to run for school board was just because I saw people who were not using our local public schools, or who wouldn't even move to my neighborhood because they were either had kids or were about to have kids. And I'm a big advocate of public schools, and read that there was an open seat. I'd just been in Knoxville 2 years, and I literally never thought of running for office. I always thought I'd just be a policy, sort of behind the scenes person, but I decided to, throw my hat in the ring because I did care. I think that public schools are really important to the health of a community, and that's how I just took my role on as school board, a member of the school board for 10 years. To me, caring about our schools and kids and teachers shouldn't be political. It should just be common sense, trying to do the right thing for people.
The other thing that stood out to me was you seemed, how do I say this? You were relentless. Like hard issues, tough issues, you would just stay with it. Like you kept showing up. Where'd you grow up, and how did you get to be such a, first of all, do you think that's a fair description of you being, and I don't mean it in a negative way at all, but that you are relentless. When you believe in something or you believe for something, you're gonna stay the course.
Well, I think I'm a persistent person, but I also think I really value relationships, and I realize that, any given meeting, when you have an agenda, you can make some progress, and sometimes you have setbacks, but you try to play the long game, and the long game is about relationships and doing the right thing. And so if you don't succeed at first, to try again. And I grew up in Virginia, product of public schools, and one thing that I think helped me a lot, be a persistent, relentless, and pretty competitive person, is playing sports.
What'd you play?
I played soccer and basketball and tennis, and in my mind, I was the best at soccer. But when I got to high school, I tried out for the team and got cut, and I was really devastated. But then I was like, okay, well, I'll collect myself, and then I tried out for basketball in the winter. Didn't make that team either. This was a freshman in high school, so, very vulnerable time for kids. So then in the spring, I tried out for tennis, and I was able to make that team, and I played all 4 years in high school and college and was captain. And I love being part of a team, and even though it wasn't, I wasn't able to do all the sports I wanted to do, I really enjoyed that. And so I think sports really helped me channel my competitive nature in a way that has helped me in my career since then, too.
Tell me about your parents.
Well, my dad is from Texas, and he came to join the federal government in the early 60s and had most of his career with the United States Census Bureau. So I grew up one of the kinds of people who loves data and stats, and he had his whole career, working in public service. And my mom was an entrepreneur and someone who's really involved in public service as a volunteer, Keep Loud and Beautiful was, she was really involved in that, and just all kinds of local efforts like that. She was leaned more on the Democratic side, my dad more Republican side, so they always sort of taught my sister and me that, just when you're making decisions, go for the best person and the best decision, and don't let some of these superficial things color your opinion on things.
Possibility powered by Pilot Flying J, Covenant Health, Home Federal, and the Knoxville News Sentinel.
You're on the school board for 10 years. You leave,
Yeah.
and then you come back. And I think that's an interesting inflection point in your political career. You went to Slovenia?
Yes. There's nothing like living abroad to make you appreciate what you have at home.
We've got something pretty special here in
We sure
Knoxville,
do.
too. This is a really special place. You get back home, and I guess what you put in the air, so to speak, was you wanted to be recruited. You wanted to be in the middle of the action here in the city. What happened?
Well, the very first week I got back, I was attending a celebration of life of my friend Ann Woodall, and I
remember Ann.
Yeah, Ann was great.
She had so much life and energy.
Yeah, she was a really good friend and a mentor to me. She was on the school board before I was, and just helped me understand how to navigate that world, and I know she'd be really proud of what has happened since then. But her good friend Madeline Rojero was at that event, and she's like, "When did you get back to town, Indya?" And I said, "Just this week." And then I said I was hoping someone would see me when I came back to town and want me to join them, and she offered me a chance to apply for a position on her team, and I did, and was really learned a lot while I worked for her for a couple years. And I only left that job because she was term limited, and I wanted to try to succeed her, and here I am.
Did you believe it was going to happen? And when did you decide, I want to be mayor of this city? Because I think, I was talking to Bill Haslam the other day, and he was talking about being the mayor of a city is one of the best jobs he ever had.
Yeah.
And I've talked to other mayors of our city, they feel the same way. The ones that I've talked to that have made the best of it have always done it because they love their city.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Why did you want to be mayor?
Well, I do love our city, and I'm a Knoxvillian by choice. I moved here in 2001, and ever since we've been here, it just keeps growing and improving in really positive ways. And I think the best is yet to come. So I got to see and learn a lot from Mayor Rojero, and knowing that it was an open seat. I never want to run for symbolic victories. I run to win, and I did think it was possible if I worked hard enough and also met enough people. I think one of the things I enjoy most about serving in public office is the chance to talk to people, and I just knocked on doors and listen, and listening is a really helpful skill too, to hear what people's concerns are, and I was able to convince enough people to come out and support me. People really, I think what you said about school board is people don't care what your political labels are. They just want to know you're going to work hard and do the right thing. And even if they don't always agree with you, if they think that you're doing your best to do the right thing for the people of Knoxville, then they'll be, supportive.
What has your experience been in a red state and city like Knoxville being a Democrat?
Yeah.
Because it seems like you're navigating it well.
Yeah, well, thank you. It can be quite stressful at times because, people are quick to label and pigeonhole, and sometimes, for example, people have a hard time believing that I'm a progressive Democrat who also supports police, and I think my actions speak to that support. So I like I said before, relationships are so important, and so I try to, channel some frustrations sort of internally with friends that I might express frustrations about certain decisions, but then when I'm meeting with people, focus on the common ground. I try to find the good and praise it, and so I've seen some, small progress in those regards in recent days, and hope that we continue along those lines. But I have great respect for anyone who enters public service and try to find that common ground where we can, say, here's where we agree, and respect and listen to them also, because most people's motives in general are they entered public service for the right reasons.
Observing you, from a distance, the first thing I locked onto was that you were relentless, right? Resourceful and relentless. But then watching you work through a lot of tough things, from what happened at Austin East and all of the stuff that surrounded that.
Yeah.
The other thing that I see in you is a certain resilience. I did not know, and I covered this as well, that you were at the Unitarian Church when that shooting occurred years ago. And I had talked to some of the members there. In fact, we had one of the women that was there on this broadcast many years ago. I had no idea that you were there. What happened?
Yeah, well, it was a very traumatic experience, as you can imagine. It was July 27th, 2008. We dropped off my husband at the airport. He had to leave town for work, and I brought my kids, who were then 5 and 7, to church. And, we were there to see this performance. And I remember very vividly, we were sitting in, the second row, and then, my kids were so little they couldn't see well, so we moved up to the very front pew. And the show started, and, really quickly into it, we heard a loud bang and didn't know what was going on. And then screams, and I, pushed my kids down to the floor and put myself, put my body over them. And then we heard a second loud bang, which was the second shot. And, then I heard that some men in the congregation had tackled the shooter, and we just what I really think helped that day for my kids is I just picked them up and walked out. I left my purse there, I left my phone, we left my daughter's shoes, and a guy, Bob Grimack, helped carry one daughter. I carried the other one, and we just walked out and headed towards Tyson Park, and. I saw some people who were injured and bleeding, and my kids, I don't think, saw that. And so I was, other families, weren't with their kids. I can only imagine how much harder it would have been if I'd been separated from my kids. But I didn't really come back for like 10 years. So that I came back, I think, in the immediate week or two to attend a service and collect my purse and stuff. But it was a very traumatic thing, but
do you have any post-traumatic stress as a result of that?
I've had some therapy and so forth, but I feel like I think in some ways different people react differently, but I think the fact that I was able to leave the scene and protect my kids and sort of not deal with the aftermath of the trauma really reduced the immediate impact, and also. One thing about this city is that when there are traumatic events, it does bring people together, and that was certainly seen right there on that day when the people of Second Presbyterian Church were catching little kids over the fence, and the whole community really did come together. But yeah, it was a traumatic thing. It certainly has shaped my thoughts on. Various issues around red flag laws, and if that shooter that day had an AR-15 instead of a shotgun, everybody would have been dead. I would be dead, and so would my kids. So I'm grateful that he had a less deadly weapon, and that the congregation was able to stop him before he'd reloaded.
That kind of traumatic thing can shut a person down. I mean, there are a lot of people who are forever changed. Your daughters were there. Like I said, there's a certain resilience to that, but then I heard another story about you. We're in the middle of a big issue in our community. You lose somebody that's very close to you, a sister, but you needed to be here to be part of what was happening in the city council at that time. And you get the word that your sister has died, but then you have something you're doing to serve the city, and you decide to come back. Here again is that resilience. Tell me that story.
Yeah, well, my sister had been, battling cancer for 4 years, and last, she came to Knoxville to visit us in, I guess, the end of December, early January of 2021 into 20, she was here for New Year's, and then that things just sort of got worse. She entered hospice in March, and I remember, I went up to DC practically every weekend from March on until she died May 16th. So it was really, really hard time because she has 3 little kids. Sorry. Anyhow, I remember my friends and my colleagues at work, they were like, go and be with her. Because, she's not going to be there much longer. Anyhow, I don't regret any of the time I spent with her, of course. But, she knew when she was going to die. And so that Sunday, she said, you should come up again. I'd been up there like 7 times. And, anyhow, she went up there and was with her and her whole family Monday, and she died around 1 or 2 in the afternoon, and I spent the night up there, and then I flew back home Tuesday, and that was our budget meeting, and we had a big budget. It included a tax increase to pay for raises for our police officers and firefighters and public service workers, and raising the minimum wage for city workers to $15 an hour, and stuff that we'd worked on and we really needed to do. So, I was able to, channel my sister's energy and strength, and she really was always so supportive. She helped me get elected. She's my big sister.
So you felt like she would have wanted you to do that.
I almost think she, planned it to be on Mondays to know that I could be back on Tuesday. So, she didn't want to die, but she knew she was going to. So, anyhow, she was very supportive of me in every way, including, for me being a good leader for the city.
We honor her legacy, and so, thank you for letting us, into the interior of that experience with you. I think about my oldest brother. It's interesting when people are at that point of transition, this sense of knowing, and the knowing when they're in that moment of transition, and there's a moment of knowing, and their last act is an act of giving. Like, my sister needs to know it's okay to do this, and I need to help her do what she's called to do. Mm-hmm. And so I know when I gotta go. My oldest brother, he had a difficult relationship with his daughters, but all of that came back together, and he was waiting for this one daughter
to come visit.
And we're all around the bed, and my brother would not let go until he could affirm her. And he was not very conscious, but I'm talking about just squeezing a finger or whatever. Yeah. And he waited until. And I think there's something really powerful about people who love us and care about us when they're in that moment of transition, them squeezing out or eking out the ability to give something, right?
Absolutely, yeah. It's, I remember asking my minister, for some advice on how to be present for my sister and her family during this time. And we're so used to celebrating sacred, holidays or births, and he recommended, and I thought it was really good advice, to treat her passing as in a sacred way, the same way you would a birth. We had music that was meaningful to all of us and to her and people, immediate family, and a good friend of hers from, our best friend, and made some rituals around it that made it more sacred. So,
the name of the show is Anything is Possible.
yeah.
And I think the greatest thing that great leaders give to a community is hope. The belief that something is possible, that we're here, but we could go here. And if we could figure out a way to work together, we could do that. And I think as you lead our city and as you lead our community, you've been gifted with a couple of things. One, which is a relentless, competitive, they cut me from the team, I'll show up as a tennis star, that relentless ability to stay in the game and stay in the fight, but a resilience to live in and through and past the tough moments, to give us all, this notion that there's life after, there's something after. We could become something better on the other side. And so I thank you for being willing to sit with us, not to talk politics, but to talk life, and to talk your heart, and for being a person of possibility in our community.
Well, anything is possible, Halloran, and I feel like that I've seen that in my life, and I see it in Knoxville all the time.
Thank you for being here today.
Thank you.